When it comes to the future of faith, many are hopeful that programs like the ones offered at Sioux Falls Seminary will continue to develop leaders. While the rest of the nation is seeing a decline in enrollment numbers at many faith-based educational institutions, Sioux Falls is experiencing growth. Mary Hughes earned her Master's of Arts in Christian Leadership. Her plan was not to work within the church, but to take her new degree to enhance her current career as a local healthcare minister at Avera. When Mary made the decision to go back to school, she wasn't sure what to study, but Mary was certain her God was calling her to make the move so she could help others in her community. Just like Mary, many seminary graduates are taking their degrees and leadership experience to work with folks outside of the church.
I felt very specifically prompted to go to Sioux Falls Seminary. That took me about 2 years to follow through with because I was thinking the entire time, I am almost 40, Lord. I am not going back to school now. And so he just kind of kept working on me about it. And so I really didn't know what I was walking into. Was I going to walk into somebody thinking I was crazy for wanting to go back? And on top of it, not even knowing why I was going to seminary, I just felt very prompted. It is not just looking at it through a really narrow lens anymore. It's really looking at the bigger picture, which is we're really all called. We're not necessarily all called to work at the church, but we're all called. And it seemed like even locally, everyone's kind of talking about it. I mean, I think at one point we had a fighter pilot enrolled. We've had lawyers, realtors, people like myself, which are in more of a nursing medical field. It doesn't mean that we're going to go away from our traditions necessarily, because those are sacred. But it might mean that we're a little bit more relationship focused, because people are never going to stop needing God. I mean, we really do need to be available, to be open, and to see people and love and care for them.
Tyler Ramsby is currently working on his Doctor of Ministry degree while also operating as the local pastor of the Renovation Church in Garretson, which he founded. While Tyler did choose to use his degree to lead a church, his path to do so came after experiencing challenges in his youth. Today, Tyler's vision and what the church and a congregation look like is very different than that of a traditional church.
I'm pastoring a church right now that's new. We started 6 years ago. Half, if not the majority of people in Renovation Church come from a non-church background. That's my background. I didn't grow up in church at all. Became a Christian when I was a teenager after getting arrested for drugs and drug possession. The way that churches have operated since, the 1950s is we set up a service and we expect if we have a building and have some liturgy, people will come. It's not working anymore. In the early churches, you read through the book of Acts, they don't hold services and expect people to come. They actually go into their communities and in their workplace and in their families and tell people about Jesus through a relationship, not through this big church structure. So we have no building. We meet at a school and we give away usually about one offering a month. And so the biggest change we made is we're conservative, but not politically. When I say conservative, I mean they take the Bible seriously. As they become conservative politically as well, and they really isolate people because they view Jesus as this white Republican holding a shotgun, and he's not a white Republican holding a shotgun, right? He's radically different than that. Most churches have done for a long time is what is called the attractional model of doing church. And so you have contemporary music, and the pastor preaches, it's more of a motivational sermon about like parenting or finances or marriage. And it's light on Bible, heavy on cultural type stuff. And what we've been noticing through numerous studies is that's getting a lot of people in the room, but no one's actually taking Jesus seriously. So one of the major changes I think the church needs to make is to stop trying to appeal to culture in that way, stop trying to appear relevant, because in the churches strive to be relevant, we've been irrelevant, and millennials like myself see through the way churches are doing things. So that's the challenge. So one challenge, especially for pastors in South Dakota, where most of South Dakota is rural and small towns, is there may not be a huge paycheck for you. And so you have to be entrepreneurial. One thing I've started is a podcast for Pipestone, Garretson, and Del Rapids. Every single week I sit down and do a 15 to 20 minute conversation just to give that person a platform to share. I've worked other jobs on the side before, but I think pastors need to recognize that in the early church in particular, pastors were paid some type of salary, but often it wasn't enough to pay all the bills. So we have to reject the old mindset, keep Jesus at the center, but listen to how we can do things differently so it's more sustainable.